Hey everybody, I'm going to be talking to you today, reviewing with you today rather, how to analyze a writing prompt. So this is something that we've been working on in class, but we want to again review it one more time. So here is our prompt, our sample prompt that we're going to be working with. Let me go ahead and read it to you. Who makes a better leader? Someone who is loved or someone who is feared? Take a position and explain your answer using support from the article, The 10 Most Influential Leaders of All Time. So as we've been talking about, there are 4 questions that you should be able to answer for any writing prompt, and you should be able to find or infer these answers from the prompt. So the first question is, how long should the essay be? The second question is, what question is the prompt asking you to answer in the essay? The third is, what should each body paragraph be about? And the fourth is, what source or sources should your evidence come from? So looking at this, we're going to tackle that first question. How many paragraphs long should the essay be? So if you said 5 paragraphs, you would be absolutely correct. But the thing is, how do I know? It doesn't say anything about 5 paragraphs. It doesn't say anything about length at all. It just says take a position. Well, the default answer is 5. And that is something that you need to know. That you need to remember. So if it doesn't specify, you're going with 5. Another part that we would often see underneath a prompt is it would have a checklist that would remind you to make sure that you have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. The big mistake that people make with that is a lot of times they'll say introduction, body, and conclusion, and they'll see 3 parts and think 3 paragraphs. The thing is, a body is more than 1 paragraph, and you're supposed to know that. So don't assume just because you see 3 parts, intro, body, conclusion, that we're talking 3 paragraphs. A body should be more than 1 paragraph. In this case, we're looking for 3, and then when you add the intro and conclusion, you have 5. So 5 paragraph essay is the default. If you're not told otherwise, assume that it's a 5 paragraph essay. 5 paragraphs. Our next question is, what is the prompt asking you to answer? So this is probably the most important question to answer, because if you are not answering this question correctly, then you're not writing the essay that you've been asked to write. And then you can't have a successful essay, even if it's beautifully written, even if it's beautifully organized. If your ideas aren't about the right thing, then you're not answering the prompt. So looking at this prompt, what is the question that it's asking you to answer? If you said, who makes a better leader, someone who is loved or someone who is feared, you'd be correct. How do I know? Well, going back to the prompt, it's actually in question form. And this is actually something that sometimes happens, but a lot of times doesn't happen. A lot of times you'll have a statement like, take a position on blah, 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 or write an essay arguing blah, blah, blah. So you need to look for statements like that and make sure that they aren't telling you to do something different than what you're seeing the question mark come after. This just says take a position right after the question, so we can infer that they mean take a position on this question. But like I said, sometimes writing prompts can be tricky, and they'll start off with a question that isn't really the main question that the prompt is asking. It's more of a hook into the prompt. All right. Moving on. What should each body paragraph be about? That's the question that we want to answer next. What should each body paragraph be about? If you said a reason why a leader that you love or fear is better, then you'd be correct. If you didn't, how would you have known that? Well, this is where the keywords take a position are cluing us into and should be activating some prior knowledge. Whenever you're taking a position, expressing an opinion on something, You are doing an argumentative essay, and that means that you are going to need to support your answer, your position, with reasons why you think that. So that's why we have reason why a leader that you love or fear is better. And most writing prompts are going to ask you to take a position, argue something of some sort. So most often you will be providing a reason why, but you need to be careful and make sure that they're not looking for something else. Finally, what source is your evidence supposed to come from? So another key aspect of addressing the prompt is making sure that you are taking your evidence from the right place. If it doesn't specify, then there's an answer that you're just supposed to assume. But you have to be careful that you read the prompt carefully and make sure that there isn't a source being specified. So what is the case with this prompt? Where is the evidence supposed to come from? If you said the article, The 10 Most Influential Leaders of All Time, you'd be correct. And it actually says, explain your answer using support from the article, The 10 Most Influential Leaders of All Time. So if there's an article mentioned in the prompt, that's a big red flag to you that there is a specific source that you're supposed to be taking your examples from. If it doesn't mention an article and there's no article included with the prompt, then you are in a situation where you are supposed to assume that where you're left with no other choice but to draw from your own prior knowledge and experience. But like I said, most prompts that you get in school or on a standardized test at this point are providing some sort of text. Your teacher often will assign you an essay based on like a book that you just read, for example, like we did for a lesson before dying. So that is the last question that you should be able to answer, is what source is your evidence supposed to come from? And once you've answered those 4 questions, you have all the information that you need to produce a successful response to the prompt. All right. Thanks for watching. Goodbye now.